My video for September 10th, 2017 is entitled, Irma is an Illusion. God is Love. Which is true? If God is love, would there be evidence? I mean now, not anything that supposedly happened in the past. We all know that liars tell their story, and we see the evidence of that by honest observation of the world in which we live. With Hurricane Irma still heading this way, I once again examine long-held beliefs. Many have been praying for it to diminish, yet there does not seem to be much evidence of positive answers to those prayers. I'm tired of pretending reality is something different than what I witnessed firsthand. I don't see evidence of a loving God. Sorry, but it's just not here now. And now is what is real. Yes, I feel frustrated and even angry. Of course, that violates the wishful thinking mandate that teaches what I see as the lie. What you focus on expands. When we don't even know about conspiracy theories, the dark forces were expanding their control. Now that we know, they step up their efforts to generate destruction. I wish we would wake up. I wrote that blurb, yesterday after my other video went live. Possibly I even wrote it before my video. It was around the same time, yesterday late afternoon, when I wrote that blurb. In any case, a lot has happened since then. I've come across things that challenge what's happening. Number one, I've watched videos that show that Hurricane Irma doesn't even exist on some weather maps. I mean, there's a channel that I've watched a number of videos now from that channel, and it's a totally different story. And ironically, my son sent me a video that showed that 7 or 8 years ago, there were 3 hurricanes with the same first letter of the hurricanes that we're at now, different names, but same first letters, that were in basically the same locations that they have been in recently, over Cuba, and the other one moving from the east, and the other one from down around the below Texas, Mexican-Texas border, and a little bit south of the border. And it's almost, you could superimpose the video from the one into current videos, and you'd be like you were talking about the same thing, but there were 7 or 8 years apart. Folks, I want you to understand something. And it's hard for us to get it. But everything, virtually everything that is mainstream, that is considered the accepted norm of what we're supposed to think and believe, is a lie. Almost everything. It doesn't matter if it's politics. It certainly doesn't matter if it's the news media. It doesn't matter if it's the economic system. If it doesn't matter if it's religion. It doesn't matter what it is. Virtually everything we've been told is a construct. It's a lie by those who have an agenda. And that agenda is to stop humanity from evolving into higher, more conscious beings. They would rather keep us enslaved and imprisoned. That's why they want to send us to, they tried. They sent the management of the building that I'm living in to every floor in the complex to bring all the people out of their apartments and meet with them, trying to convince us to go into their shelters, their FEMA shelters. And I'm sorry. I don't trust them. And I'm relieved that most of the people in the complex, from what I understand, I've talked to several, and they've confirmed that many of their neighbors are not leaving. They're staying here even though there's no services, there's no security guards. Management is gone until at least next Monday or Tuesday, I'm not sure which. And it's ironic that this whole thing is supposed to hit our area on September 11th. That's when it's really supposed, this is the video for the 10th, of course, but it's supposed to hit September 11th. Now, folks, fear plays into the hands of this establishment. These are not humans like many of us, I hope most of us. These are demonic elements that seem to thrive. They feed on fear. They feed on creating as much anxiety as possible. And the worst thing that could happen to them is for us to start loving one another and being peaceful toward one another and helping one another to the best of our ability. And it's also interesting that the RV is supposed to be announced this week. And it's actually been supposed to be announced a year and a half ago. No, not July last. It probably was supposed to be announced even before that, but I knew about it from June last year, and it was supposed to be announced by July the 4th last year. Not this year, last year, 2016. I want you to see the pattern of how this cabal, whatever you want to call them, how this cabal operates. They purposefully do things to generate anxiety because for some reason they thrive on that, as I said previously in other videos. We need to somehow find a way to center ourselves. And it's hard because there are lots of distractions. And the distractions seem more real and more evident than some of the other things that are not yet in our sphere of observation and our sphere of awareness. You know, they're more etheric rather than something that we can tangibly derive through our senses. And here comes the rain again. I mean, it's been storming throughout the morning here, which is very unusual. It often rains in the afternoon in Florida. Often, not all the time, but much of the time. That's just the pattern in the summertime. But here's what's happening. There is a wind, apparently a fairly strong wind, blowing from the northeast, blowing southwest across the state of Florida. The hurricane has dipped down. It was supposed to be turning up and going up the Bahamas. It touched some of the southernmost Bahama Islands, but did not follow that path, that trajectory, north up the along the Bahamas and to the coast of Florida. Now, if it were to veer now, it would be right over the peninsula because it's right under the peninsula right now, right under where the Key West and the Florida Keys comes down above Cuba. But it's still sitting on the land over Cuba, according to the weather map that I'm observing right on the next computer, sitting right over here. Here's the thing, folks. I'm staying put, and lots of people are staying put. We're not going to run because of these people that are trying to generate fear. We're not going to feed them as to the best of our ability. We're not perfect at it. I'm not perfect at it. But let's not feed them. Let's try to come together to help one another, to support one another, even if we have different ideologies and different perspectives on what is real and what isn't real. One thing that is real is we have the ability to love one another. We have the ability to be compassionate. We have the ability to listen. We shouldn't be arguing and trying to convince anyone that they're wrong because none of us has all the answers. I don't. Nobody does. We're learning. We're discovering. And let's continue that discovery, and let's recognize that love is true, regardless of anything else. Thank you for listening, and namaste.